welcome to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. I am Swati Negi Chibbar. A lot has been happening and not happening in the world of education post the outbreak of COVID-19 and the subsequent introduction of India's new education policy 2020. Let's take a look at some of these which make our top stories.
JEE mains to be conducted in more regional languages as per Minister Pokhriyal. IAS Chandrajyoti Singh top scorer in UPSC CSE. Reopening of schools in several states underway with alternate attendance for teachers. Ex-Super Chief brings extracurricular activities online with EdTech startup. Digital gaps continue to plague India with shaky online learning infrastructure. Role of NCERT is very important in implementing new education policy. COVID-19 creates a hostel bed crunch for freshers, rent for private accommodation likely to go up. Delhi University meddling finger at ministry. Rajasthan board releases reduced RBSC class 12 syllabus 2020-21. Delhi University admissions 2020 against third cutoff list. No process documents required. NEET 2020 counselling. Registration for NEET undergraduate counselling from tomorrow. NEET 2020 scrapped dealer's son clears NEET medical entrance exam in 9th attempt. China prepping for a complete overhaul of higher education. International Education Week to be hosted virtually in USA at end of the November. Australian B schools see a spike in Asian entrants. UK universities looking to lure more Indian students in post-COVID higher education revamp. Measure for education sustainability has been identified as need of the hour globally. For in-depth details of all stories and analysis, log on to www.edumate.tv.
These were the top headlines from the world of education. Now let's move on to our special series on the class of 2020, where we engage with students, teachers, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, reboot, reset, rethink, re-strategize, reformat before we rebuild a new future, a new normal. This program is brought to you by Ahead Education, which looks at education ahead, and I say with great pride, it's powered by one of India's better universities in the north, IMS Ghaziabad. As always in our show, we have a host of luminaries from whom we hope to learn from. Let's take a look at who our special guests for today are. Higher education, professional education is a must. Of course, we all know that. But it assumes a unique importance, particularly in the post-COVID environment. Its importance magnifies in terms of diversity, in terms of opportunity, and also in terms of employability. What does that mean? Let's get our first voice in, Professor Alok Pandey, who's of course the head of IMS Ghaziabad. The opening address from you before we start going on to our questions from our students.
What basically happens in India is that we have large number of educational institutions, but they still are very low for the requirement. Currently around 28 million students in higher education in India. And if you really want the gross enrollment ratio to grow up to 30%, by 2030, we would need a lot more. In fact, say approximately if you the total number of college-going students, if it goes up to say around 140 million, one of the highest in the world, we need to create at least 400 to 500 colleges per annum in higher education. Professional higher education is the only option for an Indian student to start working somewhere. Now, if I talk about management education, what can you do after doing management education? One, you would learn the trends in business, and you will be able to find out as to how to work your way through an organization. How, what is finance, what is accounting, how is it linked to running a business. You probably will be studying different electives like finance, marketing, information technology, international business, data analytics, and all these subjects you have never studied before. You will come to know about things which nobody has taught you in colleges. We are very clear now, the kind of colleges, the way they function in India, they have no understanding that you also need to have critical elements of thinking in your education. They have only taught you how to remember, how to understand, and how to apply.
How should we inculcate the qualities which is required to be a professional? Simran wants to know, as we prepare to enter a new era of work, what will change? Do you really feel the importance of higher professional education in this post-COVID era? And Mansi wants to know, what are the important points that we should consider before opting out for higher education after this pandemic?
My dear students, at this point of time, we need to focus on more of contribution, more of doing, rather than talking, rather than defining things. My dear students, these three questions which you have put up to us, let me answer these questions based on two different angles. One, that I see it from the point of view of an emotional and social angle, where we say you need to serve the society, you need to contribute for the country, you need to contribute for the globe. Second, continuing to the first point, now we say, पहले हम कहते थे कि पढ़ेगा इंडिया तो बढ़ेगा इंडिया, अब हम कहेंगे कि आप करेंगे, if you do, the economy will get better. So better you do things rather than talking on things. My second point is most important, that is economic aspect, economic angle, that we need to create the professionals. You need to create professionals within you, my dear students. Now the point which you have mentioned, the question which you have mentioned, what should be the qualities for a higher professionals, a higher educationist? Let me take you through different points. Let me focus on 5 different points. First point is that entrepreneurship. Why professional education is needed? Professional education is needed to make you professional, to make you self-reliant, to make you employable. To become self-reliant, if you become self-reliant, I'm sure the country would become self-reliant automatically. Now, as an educationist, as an institution of higher education, higher learning at IMS Ghaziabad, we try our best to inculcate these entrepreneurial skills into our students through the Entrepreneurial Student Society Incubation Cell, where what we do different activities like Ideathon, like business art, like business mela, like business plan competitions with the help of our senior alumni and industry giants time to time.
I am by heart a hotelier. I started with hotels. But incidentally, I fell into this line by chance and not by choice. I was actually studying economics. And suddenly an opportunity I saw, which I had never heard about sometime in 1989, about something called hotel management. I had absolutely no idea what it meant. I just applied. I got through multiple rounds of interviews and written examinations, and I joined. But before joining, I had absolutely zero idea what exactly is this line about, what happened, what will I become, how much I learn. I had no idea. I just jumped in. So there is a stark contrast from that era to this era, where I see my daughter preparing for her career right from class 8. She was very clear that this is what she will be doing in 9th and 10th and then 11th and 12th. And she has a plan A, B and C ready. That this is a plan A. If that doesn't click, there's a plan B ready already in place. And she's working on all those plans simultaneously. So there's a stark contrast. So I think because of the awareness which is there because of digitization or any other reasons has made a lot of impact. So, however, coming back to the question posed by Chetan, higher education. See, while working in hotels, I completed my graduation in commerce. I shifted after 5 years in the industry into training mode, into entrepreneurial training mode. While running an educational institution, I completed my PhD in tourism. At that time, to be very honest, I had no idea whatsoever why I'm pursuing my PhD. I was a businessman. I was into an entrepreneurial mode, and that was supposed to go on for forever. And I did my PhD. So then what happened? There were some unforeseen circumstances. I had to come back to job about 5-6 years back. The PhD helped. And here I am working as a senior director and heading a Z division with Quality Council of India. It's an autonomous institution under the Ministry of Commerce. So if any time we feel that this particular course at this juncture may not help, think again.
Is higher studies necessary for securing a job? Muskan wants to know, how will COVID-19 affect the national exams like CAT, JEE, etc., and how will it impact the student's life? And Nimisha wants to know, what will have more importance? Courses from foreign universities like CFA, ACCA, CPA, or Indian Institute courses like CA or CS?
CA was just giving me the, theoretical knowledge. But in CFA, I found that the practical knowledge was there. Like I was just studying GDP at that time. So there was some definitions of GDP and some more points was there in CA. I'm not criticizing CA because now CA has just adopted so many other things and they have just included some new variables in CA curriculum. But now at that time, CFA CFA was just teaching me how to calculate GDP, how to use GDP data, how to read GDP data. So that kind of study was there in CFA. So I opted CFA, and I am proud to be in CFA because it gave me a different spectrum. It gave me a different direction in my life to study the variables, to study stocks. Like I have many friends. Those are CA. And those are involved in stock market analysis. But what I found is that I have a different parameter to analyze all the variables in identifying stocks, to read about the variables. So CFA is, I think, a better option to enter into the finance field.
What is happening over here? Those the traditional universities, those who are running the traditional programs like graduation and post graduations like MA, MCom and MSc, now they have entered into a professional higher education and they have started giving some professional like degrees like MBA and all. So here is the biggest problem, because they are having around 200 courses running with them and they are offering another course from a professional thing. So it's not their focus area, but still they are operating as one another program. But what is the requirement of industry? How employable, like how a student can be employable means the education provider must have an understanding about the industry. He needs to a requirement of market. He needs to understand. So wherein now the bifurcation comes. Like I'm coming from a management college at IMS Ghaziabad, which is an autonomous college and autonomous institution offering PGDM program. So basically our name stands for management education. We have been incorporated for imparting management education. So our main focus is like whatever we are producing, whatever students we are producing, that has to be like as per industry requirements. That has to be accommodated in industry. So we need to work closely with the industry, what they are looking for, and we need to. So what we are doing, we are trying to inculcate the requirements of industry in our students. That's we are working. And the problem is like in industry or in a market, we are putting a question mark on professional educations. Like most of the graduates and postgraduates are not employable.
Priya wants to know, how should a student embrace himself or herself to become eligible for job, which have become a nightmare in this post-COVID world? Ansh wants to know, how will issues such as lack of communication, skill building, and student-teacher relationship building eliminated by online education? And Dipali wants to know, what are the challenges that university must meet to ensure that their strategic goals are properly aligned to the needs of the business sector.
Quote a recent survey conducted by one of the major recruiting platforms called LinkedIn. So they have identified 5 skills that are going to be extremely useful in the next normal world. And mind you, what we are talking about is 2 sets of skills, hard skills as well as soft skills. Post-COVID, one major change that has taken place is now the jobs are not going to remain a full-time 9 to 5 kind of jobs in most of the cases. They might get converted into gig jobs, where you take up a small project somewhere and do another small project somewhere else. That not only opens a large number of doors for you, that is also going to be profitable for the employers. Having said that, which are those skills which you can transport from one gig to another? Right? So these are known as soft skills. Of course, we all know that. Soft skills are discipline and company agnostic. Remember, friends, that is extremely important. As young students, you need to focus on those skills which remain agnostic to functions, which remain agnostic to firm, which remain agnostic to different employment opportunities.
Specific areas, specifically, I think one of the questions that came out, I'm very impressed that, this is a battle that has been fought in any and every organization, which today they talk of communication skills. People need to communicate. If you communicate, you will be able to solve the problem. And of course, in terms of an evolution that has happened, I can give you my own example. In the area of finance that I chose, I started my career with more on the financial services side, then had an exposure in the, core manufacturing industry. And of course, last, I think, about close to 21 years, I have been in the IT outsourcing area, which is evolving by the day. And so is, typically, and for all the students who are listening and interested in finance, finance function is completely evolved. It's no longer, limited to a role where today we say that, your job is only to stack up numbers or only to eventually help us generate a P&L and a balance sheet. I think it's completely changed. We are no longer called, pure finance, conservative finance guys, but we are called as business finance people.
Got my sketches with myself, and I've got 6 to 7 sketches, and I'm going to show you. Okay. So I started sketching because I developed interest in when I was 5 or 6 years old. I used to imitate those sketches. They were present in our textbooks, which were colored and eye-catchy. So that was the time I developed this hobby. And well, it is also a healer to me more than anything else. It always, allows you to sit back and sketch a picture at your own pace, and you can just draw whatever you want, have fun while doing it. There are no rules.
So Simran, talk us through the thought process that happens. I love the statement which says there are no rules. Perhaps that's the way you all wanted life to be. And do you plan to pursue this as a profession as well? What are your thoughts on this?
No, sir, I don't want to pursue as anything else. It's not my passion. It's just my pace. Whenever I feel occupied by the bunch of thoughts, it is the only thing which contents me, and I feel ease with it, and it makes me happy. And whenever I feel a little stressed or something, it helps me in that.
What a beautiful thought. And this is time, Dr. Surbhi Singh from the IMS, these are times when the students have been dealing with a lot of conditional issues like stress. And it's so imperative that they find their own space, because it's only when they find their own space, they'll be able to create space for others.
Basically, in IMS Ghaziabad, we definitely try to give lots of openness to our students, so that they can create, they can come up with their innovations, agility, and their positive attitude. Since we are known for the professional studies, we offer the higher skill based courses. So we basically try to develop the critical thinking in our students. We try to nurture the thoughts their deeper thoughts, by our course offering. So, like in our campus, our main focus is to create a learning environment in which the students can actually come out with their creativity and innovations.
Now, if I see for these professional courses, definitely they are they are helping a lot the students in honing their skills. Not only limiting them to the educational area, but also there are so many diverse areas. Now, if you would see from my own institute, we are providing platforms to the students where they are arranging, mega events like food conclave, entrepreneurial sale, financial. And if I would say about these professional institutes like IMS and Technia and all these, they are definitely into providing fellowship opportunities to the students, exposures to the students, where they can where they are not able to not only just able to present themselves in a wider public area, but also they are able to execute. They are able to show off the kind of skill sets they have acquired during the time they have been in that institute. So definitely, it's a private-public partnership.
One very interesting talent, and I'd like to take him first, simply because he's been having a bit of a power issue in his area, and by power I mean electricity, nothing else, nothing to do with politics. Sai Rohit is with us, and he's got what's he got? He's got a set of keyboards with him. What's the key to your success, Sai? Let's hear it.
I'm going to play Michael Jackson and Breathless song by Shankar Mahadevan.
Wonderful. We're all ears. Please go ahead. So congratulations to both of you, Sai and Simran. Thank you for spending some time with us and showcasing us your enormous talent. Well, we've also got to showcase a lot more. Several questions coming your way, but in just a moment. Quick break, and then we are back.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Well, it is indeed an interesting class of 2020. Now, isn't it? We will bring it right back to you after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Congratulations to Government of India on this new national education policy which has come after almost 34 years. Based on the foundational pillars of access, equity, accountability, quality and affordability, I hope this policy is going to bring huge changes in India's economic growth and human capital development. It amalgamates the best practices from several Western and Southeast Asian countries and even countries for Europe. We hope that with the draft new guidelines available to us soon, we all would be there to support the government on this wonderful initiative.
Namaskar. Thank you Edumate TV and Mr. Chetan Sharma for giving me a chance to give my initial comments on national education policy. The policy is very comprehensive. I think the committee has done an excellent job. We have gone through the whole draft of the policy earlier. For higher education, where I'm working as a Vice Chancellor, I'm Professor S.P. Singh, Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Guwahati. I would say it's going to bring out many favorable, good changes with respect to whatever we are not in a position to do due to many rigidness of the earlier policies, a lot of regimented approach by the regulatory bodies. Now the regulatory bodies are going to be under one umbrella other than Bar Council of India and Medical Council of India. Hopefully they will also come in the main framework in due course of time. Also about that if there will be one regulatory body, it will be easy for them to see that quality of education is proper in the higher education institutions or not.
Hello everyone. This is Professor Tapan Kumar Nayak, Dean Academics, IMS Ghaziabad. With whole heart, I welcome the new education policy being announced by the Government of India on 29th of July 2020 under the able leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. This is a much needed and much awaited decision to bring quality in the system of education in the country. I am sure this new education policy is going to bring quality in the system of education in general and higher education in particular with the help of 5-pillar concept of education stressed by Honorable Prime Minister, that is accessibility, affordability, equity, quality and accountability.
The new policy emphasizes complete changes in the realm of governance, pedagogy, teacher training and also accreditation, funding, all aspects of the higher education system of the country. Naturally, this radical change will call for radical measures and the success of this policy depends on how effectively it is implemented. It is too early to comment on the merits and demerits of the policy, but then taking into account the radical nature of the changes, it can be said that its implementation will depend on how effective measures or mechanisms are put in place. The policy is too idealistic to my mind, and its practical implementation in a country as vast and as diverse as in India will be a major challenge for the government of India and for the entire teaching community.
Hello everybody, this is Professor Venkatesh Raikar, Vice Chancellor Sanjay Gura University. So whatever the lacunas in our higher education systems will be taken care by this new policy called New Education Policy 2020. Already we know that any institution is meant for 3 purposes: knowledge dissemination, knowledge creation, knowledge application. We are good in knowledge dissemination. We have to take care of knowledge application and knowledge creation by the students, community as well as by the faculty. Second point is any curriculum is based upon 3 factors: knowledge, skill, attitude. We are good again in giving knowledge to students. What about the skill set are to be required by the outsiders and also the attitude. Third point is about the employability. whomever we produce graduates, are they employable? You know that India, the employment rate is around 10%. Fourth, regarding with respect to our cross enrollment ratio of our country, it is around 27.3. Compared to other countries, is very less. If you see America or Europe countries, there the cross enrollment ratio is more than 70%. So these are the issues of higher education. And one more thing I want to say is that whether we are capable of giving an interdisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary approach, and a transdisciplinary approach. I think the focus should be more on transdisciplinary approach. I think this policy is focusing on transdisciplinary approach. Because so far, we have been giving a monoculture knowledge to the students, those who are joining different programs. Today, this policy will replace this monoculture knowledge will be replaced by, philosophy, sociology, psychology, fine arts, etc., etc. The principles of this new education policies are like this: respect diversity and local context, equity and inclusion, use of technology, community participation, lifelong learning, critical thinking. So, in our education systems, we have been forcing to learn a lot of subjects, whether it's useful for his life or the society. These policies emphasizing on reduction in curriculum, which is not required at all. So it focuses more on core essentials, critical thinking, interactive classes, experience learning, project-based learning, and case-based approach. So these are the plus points of this national education policy. At the end, I would like to say, in education system, in especially higher education system, the emerging technologies like machine learning, artificial intelligence, data analytics, blockchain, IoT, machine learning, these are to be taught to the students irrespective of the programs, because these are the need of the hour. I think this national education policy will take care of the inclusion of new technology which is required by the industry and society, then focusing more on transdisciplinary approach, that is the need of the hour. That means an engineering student, if he is interested to learn in music, he can learn music taking one subject or two extra subjects. So I think, and also this NEP is taking care of the advanced learners also. A boy is very intelligent. If he wants to finish his degree within 16 years, this NEP is allowing them. So overall, I think this policy will take care of the economy of our country, and also I think we will once again emerge a universal guru for higher education.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Now let's go back to our class of 2020 and join Chetan Sharma, founder of Edumate.tv, in conversation with students, teachers, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Welcome back to this very special class of 2020 that's brought to you by Edumate.tv. It's also produced by Education, which looks at education ahead, and it's very proudly powered by IMS and Ghaziabad.
Aishwarya wants to know, will the post-COVID environment be a wake-up call for higher education to transform into a more practical and research-based system? Shimron wants to know, will on-site education activities be limited to certain times of a day? And if higher education will become a must in this post-COVID-19 scenario? Carmelina wants to know, should a master's degree be a must for graduates to reduce unemployment in the country?
In this country, largely people who come and teach, they basically come because they have no other avenue to make a living. And that is true at school level, that is true at college level. And when they go to the classroom, they literally have no understanding of either the subject area, nor its connection with the society, nor the problems of the society. Their only problem is unemployment. And they solve their unemployment by punching in the morning and punching out of the institution or school or college in the evening. The result is that we've come to a point where our students are completely unaware of what is going on. In fact, remember, there are only two windows you provide to a young student in school or college level. One is through the teacher who goes to the classroom, and the second is through the books or the library resources you provide to the students. So either way, we lack good quality trained teachers and we lack good quality libraries. In fact, library culture is completely missing in this country. I'm glad to hear from some of the students that they're talking about the relevance of education. Somebody is talking whether master's degree is required or not. In India, master's degree is a must. Why? Because your education system fails you till the graduate level. I have often said, you go and check up with the engineering colleges, how are they passing their engineering course? They just buy a guidebook. They read 5 questions and give an exam. You ask an engineering graduate in this country, how does an electric fan work? An average engineering graduate. I'm not talking about the IITs, which are a shade better, not very good in fact. The quality of IITs also has fallen over a period of time because of lack of research. So what my take on this, one, that research is an integral part. It should be there from graduation level. But before that, we need to have teachers who are trained in research, and efforts should be made to ensure that only trained teachers go to the classroom.
Our institute, in Technia Institute, we focus on many skill-oriented activities that will upskill the students so that they could adopt and they could compete in the market. Because we know in our curriculum, the curriculum is lacking with there is a linkage that lacks the linkage in between industry and the classroom teaching. So to bridge this gap, we at Technia Institute focus on curriculum activity, extracurricular, co-curricular activities, and we have a very good cell that is called as IIC, that is Institutional Innovation Cells, that promote the entrepreneurship entrepreneurship among the students. We arrange skill-oriented or many we arrange webinars, and we have many workshops we conduct.
Actually, when we look into this particular angle, I feel that is, as a teacher, we tell them what is the importance of it, right?
Yes.
At a graduation level, maybe the students are not up to that particular marks. Maybe as a part of a teacher, it is our duty to inculcate what is the importance of having more of a higher education. So it all depends upon how we are able to motivate the children where they can opt for a better opportunities.
At the end of it all, higher education is a must. I start out by saying that there are 2 spellings of the word higher. One is H-I-G-H-E-R and the other one is H-I-R-E, because one leads to the other. So you need to understand that in its prospect. And if it's not only about life learning, it's about livelihood. And if you're at the bottom of the pyramid, all the more reason you should be looking at higher education very, very closely to move higher up the ladder of Maslow's need hierarchy theory. And as I often say, it's higher education that bestows you with the 3 R's. First, of being relevant. Next, of being responsive to the changes. And C, being responsible. And if you're that, then you're in the making of a very self-reliant India. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this show. As I always say, to educate better, you better educate.
Pillars of access equity, accountability, equality, and affordability, I hope this policy is going to bring huge changes in India's economic growth and human capital development. It amalgamates the best practices from several Western and Southeast Asian countries and even countries for Europe.
For the first time, I'm seeing that there is a deviation from curricular load to reducing the content to the essential core. I think this is going to go a long way in producing deep thinkers in our country.
The policy is too idealistic to my mind, and its practical implementation in a country as vast and as diverse as in India will be a major challenge for the government of India and for the entire teaching community.
What's necessary for an educational institution is to provide conditions in which a young person or a student or even faculty can begin to unfold the kind of brilliance and talent that they have within themselves. And I think that the new education policy really lays down the conditions, the framework, the parameters for this to happen. So in that sense, it's a remarkable document.
Well, ironically, the new education policy aims not just at education, but the entire gamut of human resource development, as it expands the lens beyond structured curriculum and predictable careers to a holistic 360-degree character-building process, as it addresses the critical needs of employment and employability, offering a creative mix of flexibility and focus all throughout the learning life of a student, as it empowers the teacher, enhancing transparency and accountability through leaner governance. The new education policy truly has the makings of perfect and clear 2020 vision, provided it's implemented in true letter and spirit.
If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
Here's the deal. I can do anything, be anything, create anything, dream anything, become anything.
My dad always says, you are what you do, not what you say. Well, you grown-ups say you love us, but I challenge you, please, make your actions reflect your words.
If you believe in yourself, you will know how to ride a bike. If you don't, you just keep practicing. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything. I just want everything to be good as possible. Nothing else.
You better not give up on us. No, you better not. Because, as you know, in some cases, you're all we've got.
And if I can be nice, I think all of us can be nice too. This is your turn. Now go out there and take it.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Coming ahead is our very special show, The Vice Chancellor, with Dr. Upendra Dhar, Vice Chancellor Shri Vaishnava Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, in an exclusive conversation of insights and inspiration with Chetan Sharma, founder Edumate.tv. Over to Chetan.
Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, rethink, reset, reformat, reboot before we rebuild a new future, a new norm. In the world of education, and particularly higher education, if there's one trait that's required to overcome challenges, find solutions, in fact, create opportunities. It's the trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from past experience and knowledge, and wisdom to be able to expect, embrace, and evolve into the new future. And that's why we have with us on our shows the very wise Chancellor. And today we have a very special guest from Indore. We've got Dr. Upinder Dhar. He's the VC of the Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya University there. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Such a pleasure to talk to you. And you've been a luminary in your own right, Dr. Dhar. Wherever you've gone, you've always been the founder VC. So what's this special mantra for Dr. Dhar?
Special mantra is dedication to higher education.
And that dedication, of course, is permeated into you making several institutions of repute. So talk us through your career pattern, Dr. Dhar. Inspire us.
Now we can say for last more than 20 years, 25 years, I have been an institution builder. I was the director of Prestige Institute of Management and Research for more than 10 years. After my tenure as professor at NITI, Bombay, my first tenure as head of the institution was with this Prestige Institute of Management and Research in Indore itself for more than 10 years. And I moved on to Ahmedabad as director of Nirma Institute of Management, which all stands for quality education. Then on 2009, I got the first opportunity to set up a university for JK Group of Industries. So I happened to be the first vice chancellor, and the priority was quality education. I completed my term. I was there for 5.5 years. For a small stint, I was with Edumate University in Noida as additional group vice chancellor and pro vice chancellor academics. And in 2015, I moved on back to Indore as first vice chancellor of this university, Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya. So amongst my priorities, it is only quality education, no compromise on quality education. Though, you see, I had the opportunity to work in almost all sectors in education. As I mentioned about NITI, that is Government of India. Before that, I was in 2 state public universities. One was Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya in Indore, and before that, MD University Rohtak. So I was in public sector institutions, then private sector institutions also. But the common feature that has always been my priority and preference is quality. No compromise on quality, no compromise on merit, wherever I have been. And I have seen results. Those students who have been meritorious wherever they have studied, they have prospered in life. So it is the outcome that has also further inspired me that I am perhaps on the right track.
Just the conversation with you dispels so much of clarity, particularly from your one-line statement when you start off by saying that the reason of your success is dedication to higher education. So then define us, because you worked between both the private and the public sector, give me a one-line critical difference between the two. What's been your learning?
Flexibility. Government institution, we are sometimes, in fact many times, stuck because of certain hardcore rules, regulations, note sheets and so on. Whereas in the private sector, if we have a good idea, that can be implemented well. There is nothing that stops. Provided that the idea is good, it is implementable and it has merit. So flexibility is one basic difference between public and private institutions in our country.
So tell us the flexibility shown by the Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya in the times of a pandemic. Because if there's one thing that you need, is flexibility and continuing flexibility.
This COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted all businesses across the world, and education is not an exception. Education at all levels are disrupted across the world. There are about 1.3 to 1.5 billion learners who have been affected because of this pandemic across the world. And if we see in our country alone, there are about 3.75 crore students in higher education and around 14 lakh teachers in higher education, and all of them have been affected by the pandemic. So good thing that has happened in higher education is that we immediately shifted to online platforms. So our teachers across the country did not take much time in shifting from classroom in shifting from classroom to the Zoom. As you remember, this lockdown started from 25th of March.
Absolutely, sir.
And we did not take much time, about a week or so. From 30th March, we shifted to the online platform. Though there were challenges, those students who live in remote areas, we could not have access to many of them. But at the same time, wherever we could have access, we have kept them engaged. So our priority was student engagement as well as faculty engagement, along with the positive state of mind. And I'm happy to share with you, we have done it successfully.
Amongst my conversations with several vice chancellors, certain common challenges have been seen, particularly in the recovery of fee from students. B, in not just in conducting the online, but the future conversion to blended education. C has been on the admission process. Admissions have not been enough because students are skeptical. Particularly, a lot of them want to now stay within the region and only go to institutions in their area of stay. So what have been your unique challenges?
Many students don't have access because internet is not very strong in their area. So we have done it, in most of the cases we have been able to have access, but as I mentioned, in some cases we could not have access to the students. Similarly, we have conducted online examinations of the end semesters very successfully. In fact, our engineering students, BTech and MCA, we have already completed the examination, result has been declared, and all the students who were placed pre-pandemic and during pandemic have already joined the jobs. Now for the remaining programs, we have around 14 disciplines. In remaining disciplines, we are having examinations online examinations from 5th of the August. Now the issue is, as you rightly said, there are problems so far as the students are concerned, and there is some degree of resistance. Now, it is well known, at least we from the management discipline know, that whenever there is a change, there is a resistance to change. So we need to use the appropriate strategy to facilitate the change process, to help the students, in this case, to accept the change. That's what we have been doing. Say, for example, in the online examination now, some students are resisting that some of them are living in Bihar, some of them are in Uttar Pradesh. They do not have much access, but well, if examination could be allowed even on mobile, then most of the students can do it. We said, okay, go ahead. We'll see what best can be done so that maximum students get the advantage. In any case, before declaring the results, it will be moderated. If there are any deviations, we shall have to take care of it by using the scientific methodology.
You mentioned the word discipline, and this is also the time of when it's not just one discipline which a student is looking for. He's looking for multi-disciplines, and not just to de-risk himself from a career option, but also to provide variety, because the options are there, and recognition has been given across not just the conventional engineering and medical and in architecture. It's going way beyond, and humanities per se, creative arts per se, has been given its own place in the sun. So what are you doing to inculcate and encourage multidisciplinary education?
We wanted to be different. So what we did, right from the beginning, we wanted to work out a balance between professional disciplines and the traditional disciplines. Therefore, on one hand, we have engineering, architecture, agriculture, computer applications, management. On the other hand, we have humanities, social sciences, journalism and mass communication, so that there is a balance. Because on one hand, we need technocrats, but at the same time, we need people from other disciplines also. It is necessary to have the interdisciplinary approach. For example, in our university, human values and professional ethics is a course which is compulsory for all, irrespective of the discipline. Similarly, we have another course which is again compulsory, particularly for the undergraduate programs, that is environment studies. And now, as we can see, during pandemic, it has been found importance needs to be given to human values and ethics.
Well, I'm so glad to just hear what you say. I mean, the fact that you look beyond marks and mark of character, and mark of holistic education, and mark of character building and ethics, that's exactly what's required to build a nation. And I salute you for that, Dr. Upinder Dhar. You've been
Thank
a man.
you very much, but it's not my decision, it's always teamwork.
Right.
So my team has suggested it and team has implemented it. So all credit goes to my team.
Well, I always say that one of the greatest traits of a great leader is humility. And I thank you for that as well. I've noticed that you've been a man of very focused words. So I'm trying to pick up the words. I first picked up discipline. My next pickup is going to be the word flexibility used, particularly to differentiate between public and private participation and governance. Now, flexibility is something which we've not seen from policy making thus far. We've seen a bit of rigidity, and which has led to conflicting views from different stratas of the education ecosphere, particularly the parents and the students and the teachers. And there's been conflict between the center policy vis-a-vis the state policy, given, of course, that education is on the concurrent list. Now, that having been said, whatever you say, this pandemic, for all its catastrophic ills, has at least enforced a sense of purpose and need to change, and change fast, and radically change the past. I mean, we've been following a very archaic education system. This is the best time to change. Do you think you're missing something in what you've heard from government statements over the last 70 days?
Nature has always given us signals that we need to make changes in the way we are approaching life. See, this pandemic has not happened first time. If you go back in history, 1720, there was pandemic of plague all over the world. Millions of people died. But then medical science improved upon, tried to find out the cure. Then again 100 years later, 1820, there was pandemic of cholera across the world. Millions of people died. Then again about 100 years later, 1918 to 1920, about 2 years, we had the pandemic of Spanish flu. And during that flu, maximum people died. And now this COVID-19 pandemic, starting from December 2019, and it is still on. Here again, there is a signal that we need to change. And if you would see keenly, it is only human being which is affected. COVID has not affected animals. COVID has not affected plants. It has affected human beings because our ways, our approach to our environment was very detrimental. So we need to mend our ways. Flexibility with an element of rationality is important. Whatever best could be done. And even our government institutions, regulating bodies are trying to be flexible, moving towards flexibility to some extent now. I happen to be part of this guidelines committee, which has prepared these guidelines for the whole nation. There is, if you would read that, there is a lot of flexibility in there. So this is an indicator that even regulating bodies are trying to be flexible now. Even AICTE, they have created virtual laboratories for the benefit of the students. See, this was unthinkable earlier. This pandemic, COVID-19 has given us a signal that we need to review and revise our norms for approval of an institution, for approval of a new program, and also for the accreditation of a program. Parameters will have to be reviewed and revised. Say, for example, earlier we have been saying teacher-centric to student-centric education. So education has to be student-centric. But now we have to go ahead. It has to be tech-centric. So from teacher-centric to student-centric, now tech-centric. Institutions will not survive if they don't upgrade the technology, if particularly IT. Online mode cannot replace the face-to-face mode. I would not say offline. Why I am not saying offline? Because what was mainline 3 months back cannot just all of a sudden become offline. So I avoid using offline. Instead, I would call it in-person interaction or face-to-face interaction. Today, in online interaction, we are facing the camera, not the students. So we are missing the expressions of the students. When we teach students, we are expressing the expressions on their face, the way eye movements and so on and so forth, which is also important. Therefore, for our overall development of the students, the right way is going to be the blended approach. You see, campus experience is very important. If you see the literature, there are many students who have sought admission in foreign universities and sitting at home, they are getting education, but they don't have that feel of the campus. There are certain values which can be taught or which can be transpired only through in-person interaction. That's why blended education, blending approach is going to happen. not exclusively online, not exclusively in person, but a mix. Now UGC is working on it. University Grants Commission had already few years back started allowing the universities across India to offer 20% of credits online. But most of the institutions were not taking it seriously.
Right.
But now COVID has taught us, no, you have to do it. Even assessment methods need to be innovated now.
Right.
We cannot continue with the methods of assessment that we used to have.
I think you mentioned something, so insightful. First of all, you pointed out about the values of face-to-face education, the nuances which one learns. And I think one critical difference is that you can teach people online, but on a face-to-face basis, you learn. And that's through observation, that's through, subtle interaction. So thank you for pointing that out. Also, because I've been picking words from you, so the next word I'm going to pick up is blend. And you give a very interesting analogy of the importance of having blending the need of rationality with flexibility. And I often say myself, while change is something that is inevitable, and progress necessitates change, but all change does not lead to progress. So you've got to be very careful about the changes you choose and ensure that they are progressive. Now, so many insights coming from you, Dr. Dharan. I'm sure that most of our audience would like to learn a little more. So I want you to conclude with the spot of advice for 4 stakeholders, very critical stakeholders of our education system. A, the student, B, the parent, C, the teacher, and D, your fellow vice chancellor.
There is one more stakeholder, that is one who gives the job, recruiter. That is an important stakeholder. So we have to keep in mind the needs of the recruiter also. That's what we do. Say, for example, in our university, right from beginning, what we have done, we have tried to involve industries in every forum, on every authority, that is boards, say board of studies, board of management, academic council. We have people from industry so that we can understand the future needs of the industry. There are 4 BTech programs which we are offering with IBM as a partner. It's not only on paper. Every semester, one course is fully taught by IBM. So one of those courses is artificial intelligence, BTech in artificial intelligence. Another one is BTech in data analytics, and so on. There are 4 BTech programs. So intention is to put the needs of the industry in our system, so that when students pass out, they are acceptable. They are able to get absorbed in industry. They are able to fulfill the needs of the industry. So that stakeholder is taken care of. Now, due to the pandemic, a new phenomenon that has emerged. We asked our faculty to talk to parents also, because student is getting education while sitting at home. Therefore, sometimes get in touch with the parents, know their feelings, know their views, and also as a way of morale boosting for the students, so that we can have the direct feedback of the parents in the presence of their children. So this is another dimension that has emerged during pandemic. So parent as a stakeholder is taken care of. Now coming to the students, yes, student is our first stakeholder. That's why we did not take more than 5 days. When lockdown started, we did not take much time to shift from classroom to Zoom. Concern was the student. So student is in the center, so that we can have access to our students as early as possible, because we believe that student engagement is very important. Then coming to, there is another stakeholder, that is the teacher. See, this pandemic has come all of a sudden. Nobody knew about it. Nobody had predicted it. Neither astrologers nor scientists. It has just come all of a sudden. So our teachers, most of them were not trained. By trial and error, they learned and tried to fulfill the needs of their students. So they have been under stress, but then they have fulfilled the needs. They have done their job. And coming to the administrators, like vice chancellors and directors, say in my case, during the whole lockdown, every week we have had the meetings I had meetings with all the directors of the university, all the heads of the institution, administrative heads as well as academic heads, so that we can discuss if there are any hits, there are any problems in teaching learning process, what can we do? If there are any issues, what can we do, what best we can do? And then how to follow the guidelines issued by government from time to time. That has also been happening. So intention is to have all-round communication so that we reach everyone. We try to bring those benefits for the students, for the teachers. So whatever best we could do, we have been doing, but then that's not the end. It's a continuing process. But at the same time, it's also important to envision post-COVID-19. This is nature of law. What comes, that goes. COVID has come, but it will go also. But then what? After COVID, what is going to happen? So norms we have to follow, everyone has to follow in any case, but things are going to be different. Education, the environment, the environment of the educational institutions, the campus life is going to be different, and we have to accept this fact. We have to accept this fact in a positive way. So positive state of mind is important. I think you are doing a good job, and this organization has a great future. And because everything is going online now, everything is getting, all businesses, even educational initiatives to a great extent are getting shifted to this kind of platform. Therefore, being an expert organization in this kind of platform, you have a great future. I wish you all the best. You are doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for teaching us the value of the letter E. E for ethics, E for employability, E for elasticity, to be able to change as and when it's required, E for evolution, to understand that change is constant and it's work in progress, and finally, E for excellence. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
There is one more, E for emotional healing. E for emotional healing.
You truly have been our Vice Chancellor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
JEE Mains to be conducted in more regional languages as per Minister Pokhriyal. IAS Chandrajyoti Singh top scorer in UPSC CSE. Reopening of schools in several states underway with alternate attendance for teachers. Ex-Super Chief brings extracurricular activities online with EdTech startup. Digital gaps continue to plague India with shaky online learning infrastructure. Role of NCERT is very important in implementing new education policy. COVID-19 creates a hostel bed crunch for freshers, rent for private accommodation likely to go up. Delhi University meddling finger at ministry. Rajasthan board releases reduced RBSC class 12 syllabus 2020-21. Delhi University admissions 2020 against third cutoff list. No process documents required. NEET 2020 counselling. Registration for NEET undergraduate counselling from tomorrow. NEET 2020 scrapped dealer's son clears NEET medical entrance exam in 9th attempt. China prepping for a complete overhaul of higher education. International Education Week to be hosted virtually in USA at end of the November. Australian B schools see a spike in Asian entrants. UK universities looking to lure more Indian students in post-COVID higher education revamp. Measure for education sustainability has been identified as need of the hour globally. For in-depth details of all stories and analysis, log on to www.edumate.tv.
So these were the headlines from the world of education. Now let's move on to our special series on International New Normal Candid COVID Classroom. Today, we step outside India to take lessons from experts from across the globe, where we engage with industry, domain experts, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
With history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, rethink, reboot, reformat, restructure, re-strategize before we rebuild a new norm, a new normal, a new life, a new future in the world of education. It's socialist in nature. It's spared nobody, the young or the old. It's been a leveler, the rich or the poor. Every single facet of human beings has been impacted by it. It's not just been a socialist virus, it's also been a virus of paradoxes. It's thrown open an environment where the only thing constant is change. The only thing certain is uncertainty. If you look at it very closely, the only thing, the biggest negative today is a corona positive. And at a time when the entire Mother Earth is trying to understand the vagaries of the situation, all of us feel at common ground. Yet the paradox is that while this is the biggest opportunity for all of us across the world to be even more deeply connected, countries are building silos of protectionism. Thankfully, in the world of education, something that we've overcome. And we at Edumate believe this is the best time to collaborate, to communicate, and to be at your creative best. That's why we stepped outside the shores of our great country to connect with luminaries like each and every one of you from across the world and better. This, we believe, is the best time to come together, because even if we cannot earn from each other, at least we can learn from each other. And today we have some very special people to learn from across the world, from our close neighbors in Bangladesh and Pakistan, spreading across to Morocco, Switzerland, several countries, and of course more. This is our episode number 3 at Edumate.tv, because we believe that whatever you do in times like these, we've got to come together to try and overcome the unique challenges thrown upon by this unique situation, to find unique solutions, and also, perhaps more importantly, to create new opportunities. So let's take a look at who these very special guests are on our program today, which is brought to you by Edumate.tv. It's produced by Education, an organization that believes in taking education ahead. Indeed, a very, very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Several countries, several brilliant names from the field of academics, but all have one goal, as to how do we come together and improve ourselves going forward. How do we address the problems and challenges thrown upon by the COVID environment? How do we find solutions? And most importantly, how do we create opportunities? We'll divide our discussion into 2 parts. First, we will talk about the problems and challenges along with the solutions. And the second half, we will look at the unique opportunities the situation has thrown upon us.
So I can tell you a few things, the few challenges I came up with. I was thinking over the few days ago. Like, let's say the first one was the problem with internet and virtual interaction addiction among students in Turkey, which seems to be very serious these days. You know that I think it's the same in all your countries as well. Students are not going to school, they're staying home, they take the online education, and the parents go to work. I mean, that's what they have to do. So kids spend a lot of time alone, and they are supposed to be online studying with the teachers, but it's not really happening sometimes, since there are a lot of opportunities and chances for them to play games, to have some more entertainment on the internet rather than education. So this is the thing that majority of teachers in Turkey are complaining about, and the quality of education has dropped seriously. And let's say quite obviously, it's quite clear that learning does not really happen in class that much as it used to happen in the past. The second serious challenge that we face here in Turkey is the risk of inequality in providing educational services to students around the nation. And the problem comes up when when the technology actually is needed for the education. Many students in bigger cities like in Ankara, in Istanbul, in Izmir, in the big cities in Turkey, they don't really have serious problem in this case, because the parents are kind of in better financial status. They can afford providing technology, internet, laptops, laptops, those for them, for the education they need. But in smaller towns and villages, this is not happening, unfortunately. And there are some charity organizations starting movements providing tablets, laptops for the students in villages, for the deprived areas. And they have been successful in some parts, but they can't really make it for the whole country. There are thousands and thousands of villages and deprived areas. So that's the other challenge that we are facing with these days. And as you might know about, in Turkey, the education ministry has announced that for the upcoming year, we won't have in-class education. So all classes will be online, and from 21st September, students of all grades start online education, except grade 1, first grade primary school, grade 8 and grade 12, because those are the first grades of each, primary, secondary, and high school.
Sure.
And 12 is the last one that they need to get prepared for the exam. So that would be the second challenge, and it seems very serious indeed. Many parents. I was talking to someone. I just went shopping a few days ago. There was a man, a middle-aged man. I came across with him. We started talking. He was from a village near Ankara, not very far, like let's say an hour far from Ankara. And he said that for the upcoming year, I don't let my child go to school. And I said, so why is that? He said, yeah, because of the coronavirus. It's so risky, and I don't want to put my child in risk. And I said, okay, there will be online education, so your child can use the online education for sure. And what he said was interesting. He said, online education is not a real education. Come on, why should I really waste my child's time and life? He can go and learn a skill. He can go and learn, work in a mechanic shop and learn some skills. This is the mentality some people in smaller towns and villages have, that online education does not really help their children learn anything. So why should they waste their child's time for that? And the third very important challenge we have here is the fact that distance learning will reinforce the teaching or learning approaches that we know they do not work. Let me clarify in this way. The majority of the schools here in Ankara, as far as I know, are focusing on communicative style of teaching, mostly, specifically to teach foreign languages, like teaching English, French, German, the languages which are commonly taught in Turkey.
Now we are gradually entering a new time, new era. That's the new normal. So to understand the challenges and solutions to the challenges related to our education system, we have to try to understand what's happening now across the globe. We all across the globe have been through a lot of these last few months. As a global community, we have been shaken, shut down, and transformed. Commutes have disappeared, ways of working reinvented, and lifelong behaviors changed for the first time. Simply opening the doors isn't enough to return to the classroom and work. Besides, we have all changed as individuals. Our habits, priorities, needs interests, and expectations have shifted. The things that mattered 6 months ago can seem very different to what's important today. As we begin to reopen offices, classrooms, educational institutions, and return to the work, return to teaching and learning, we all need to adapt how we work to meet the demands of our new normal. Not just with hurried adjustments in the short term, but with a clear view and vision of what the future may hold. That's a process that begins with clarifying and understanding what the new normal really looks like. Here, just based on my experience and knowledge of Bangladesh context, I have identified three major challenges. Here, number one, protecting life. We have to, first of all, we have to think of protecting the life of teachers and students, as well as the non-academic staff members. Secondly, the second challenge I have identified is replacing in-person or on-site education, including instruction, learning, and assessment. And thirdly, I have identified the challenge. It's very important. Teachers' unpreparedness and students' age-old mindsets. Just to focus on the first challenge, protecting life, and we have already got some guidelines, health precautions guidelines from WHO, as well as from our respective governments. So if we can ensure the health guidelines and medical facilities, we can think of opening our educational institutions. We can again start face-to-face teaching and learning.
So we know that in Morocco, schooling is no longer the same as before because of the coronavirus. Neither students nor professors thought their interests would include distance education. However, as in other parts of the world, of the spread of the coronavirus in Morocco has led to the closing of educational institutions across the country as a preventive measure to protect students and teachers from this infection. So far in Morocco has never had any experience with distance learning. Despite this, the Moroccan Ministry of Education has agreed to replace physical courses or face-to-face courses with distance learning, enabling students to pursue their courses at home. So the distance education strategy was used by public and private schools via educational websites and social media applications. This is a required step by the Ministry of Education to continue the process despite the current circumstances. As far as higher education students are concerned, each university has added a box to its website in which the students can find the course day and time online. It is to Microsoft Teams and Classroom. These are safe platforms to promote collaboration through video conferencing, file transfer, instant messaging between teams or working groups. Actually, there are many challenges when it comes to distance learning experience, especially for the rural areas which are deprived of distance learning because these platforms do not meet their minimum requirements in the countryside. For this reason, the ministry said there would be television broadcasting channels aimed at providing educational content to as many people as possible, particularly those who do not have access to the internet, and added that broadcasting would be done via Moroccan television and private television stations. So we can say that while all these measures may seem reasonable, these measures would seem quite impossible if implemented in a country where abject poverty represents more than 40% in the World Bank and more than 50% in rural areas. On the one hand, most families in urban centers lack stable internet access, and only a fortunate few middle-class families can afford to subscribe to the monthly data package. Even these families struggle because most of them have more than 2 children, and only one family computer makes learning time difficult to without straining the device, let alone shed light on who lack basic access to modern utilities and services, including essential infrastructure, electricity, safe water resources, etc.
The first of all, we have to know about the coronavirus pandemic has a lot of dark sides around the world. People get ill and die. School closed, and also the healthcare system overloaded, and employees lost their jobs. And also the companies in factories, they lost bankrupt, and the stock lost their own production. And also we can say the government lost billions of money in this epidemic situation. And also a part of this, directly and indirectly, huge stress and fear increased among of the people in the society, especially in Afghanistan, which before this situation, the pandemic of situation going to come, the fear and stress come out among of the people to how to protect themselves and maintain themselves from this outbreak of this situation. Finally, this epidemic situation come to in Afghanistan and make a big impact on entire the society, entire the situation, not only in Afghanistan, entire the world. We can say in part of it, as Afghanistan is one of the underdeveloping countries, and we have faced in economic this situation put its economic impact on the people, and the pandemic has a major impact on around the world, especially in Afghanistan. The huge number of people who are going to visit Afghanistan, and they stopped to coming and for the visiting, especially in the tourism company. The people lost their own incomes. The government lost their income of tourism people, and also the people who are having jobs, they lost their jobs in the small companies who are working. And a part of that, we can say directly, indirectly, people lost their own income, and this income put another impact on economics of the people and the income of the people. And this almost put people under pressure of the situation. And also we can say for economic situation that people lost their jobs, and when they lost their jobs, they were thinking about resigning their own jobs in the future, when they lost their confidence. And we can say, and in this part, there are some barriers and obstacles over the epidemic situation. The first one is that people lost the government services. The government was not having control to have their own proper service for the people, because more number of people lost their jobs and that become out of the control of the people.
And the countries where we are selling, I'm from Jordan originally, but it's not my main market. We are selling in Iraq, Libya, Algeria, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Jordan a little bit, Lebanon, Afghanistan. So we started in China also. To be honest, the business was a little bit normal, and it takes more time. In the time of the COVID, I was in Switzerland and Jordan. We have office in Jordan, so Jordan locked down completely, and it was a shock for me. on the 17th of March, Jordan closed everything. Even people cannot move in the street. So it was a little bit like a big change in the business. Normally, my office in Jordan making the sales in the Middle East, and Jordan was not ready for this change. But in Switzerland, it was normal to work from home office or the facility of the digital facilities is available. So what I noticed in that period that actually I felt like as a leader of the company that I will lose everything if I don't put my hands on everything directly. Because sometimes the employees, they don't feel the crisis because they take their salaries. My first problem was that Jordan, when they closed Jordan, they announced public holiday. And this was very strange, because then you cannot ask your employee to work. And it was very difficult to send them the computers and laptops from the office to their homes. In Middle East, home is home and work is work. Most of them, they use the mobile from the internet from their mobile. Even they don't have internet at home. They don't have printers. They don't have suitable desk to work from it. They are not used for that. We have designer who is making always our designs and so on, and he has a lot of work all the day. We have a regulatory department, we have sales and marketing department, we have a supply chain department, and they are working for 15 countries in Middle East and North Africa. So it was very difficult at the beginning. Then I tried to manage that. I assigned a person who can go by bicycle to the office to bring what they want and deliver it to them. And it was very difficult in the first 2 weeks. But I was forcing them to start at 9 and finish at 4, 5. It was very difficult because it was like a gift for me because they are in a public holiday. But then I decided to be very sharp and to inform them if we don't work, we will lose all what we did in the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. And the communication was difficult. But what is the benefit of this situation? Actually, that the adaptation of digitization in the Middle East, it was like very, very, very good advantage. Because in Middle East, I don't know, I think that in India, the digitalization is a little bit more, but still different. In Middle East, it's very difficult to ask somebody to work with a Zoom call or Skype, and Zoom is not famous, and Skype is available, but always they forgot the password because they use it once a year. So now it became like a lifestyle. All my employees, they know now how to work from offices, from homes. And after 1 month, from the start, after maybe 45 days, I was pushing them to work all the time for to save the company. Otherwise, we cannot compete.
The biggest challenge which we people are facing might be other developing countries as well do. This is the challenge that the teachers are not trained to conduct online classes. And there are a big challenge that in remote areas like in rural area, there isn't available, the internet connectivity isn't available over there. The students have been facing a lot of challenges while studying. Even my daughter who faces these challenges because she is not accustomed to this online classes. So this is the big challenge that we people have been facing. Another challenge is the teachers are not trained as well. They don't know how to conduct classes online. They don't have any idea about how to train the students about how to educate people. And another challenge is that funding is not available in our country by the government and other institutions. Higher education in Pakistan is not providing funding to the universities and institutions. And this is the reason that the student ultimately faces. In my university, the Vice Chancellor has to increase the number of students in the new admissions because of the non-availability of funding. So there isn't any support from the government. This is the big challenge that we Pakistanis have been facing.
The first one is the motivation. Our students, let me say that they were shocked from jumping from the class teaching up to the distant learning or teaching. So they lost the motivation, and we face this when we invite them to our classrooms. We want them to join them. So the reasons of losing the motivations, they are so many. For example, the first one is that they do not have the equipment or the devices that they can use to go to the internet or the other things. The second challenge is that the economic depression. Most of them, they lose their jobs, and you know that Iraq is just like as the other developing countries suffering from the poverty. The third one is that most of our students living in the rural or countryside areas. So this is the first challenge, that once again, that how we want to motivate our students to come or to enter our classrooms, I mean the remote one. The second one is the curriculum. We face also another challenge, which is that how we will cover the curriculum within a very short time, because we are in the end of our academic year. So also this is another challenge for us, and how we will cover this curriculum, what we'll give our students concerning the materials that we teach. The third one is the evaluation, in which is that how we will evaluate them depending on what. You know that if we want to evaluate them within the class learning or teaching, it's okay for us. But how we will do that depending on the remote teaching, and how we will guarantee that it will be an equal opportunity for all the students to take the opportunity to take the exam. So this is another problem for us concerning the evaluation for the students. Concerning the solutions for the motivation, Iraqi Ministry of Higher Education suggests many suggestions. For example, it supports the universities with the free internet for all the students, as well as we as the teachers make a donation campaign to help the poor students in rural areas, to supply them with the internet lines, the mobile devices, laptops, etc.
So there you are, 7 countries, 7 sets of challenges and solutions. Most of them are common, several of them are unique. But then this is the first part of the story. At Edumate.tv, we believe the challenges and solutions form a part of the present, which is important to understand, to learn from. What's even more important for us is to take a look at the future, because that is what all of us are intrinsically interested in. That is the land of opportunities. We'll come back with that on Edumate.tv after a quick break. Stay with us.
We fell asleep in one world and woke up in another. Suddenly Disney is out of magic. Paris is no longer romantic. New York doesn't stand up anymore. The Chinese wall is no longer a fortress. And Mecca is empty. Hugs and kisses suddenly become weapons, and not visiting parents and friends becomes an act of love. Suddenly you realize that power, beauty, and money are worthless and can't get you the oxygen you're fighting for. The world continues its life, and it is beautiful. It only puts humans in cages. I think it's sending us a message. You are not necessary. The air, earth, water, and sky without you are fine. When you come back, remember that you are my guests, not my masters.
back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Well, it indeed is an interesting international candid COVID classroom. Now, isn't it? We will bring it right back to you after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Congratulations, class of 2020 India.
My compliments to you.
Dear class of 2020 India.
Big congratulations to you all, the class of 2020.
Hello, class of 2020 India. All the best for the class of 2020.
Sending lots of love to the class of 2020 India. To all the graduating students from the class of 2020 India.
Hello, class of 2020.
Here's wishing class of 2020 a big congratulations.
A big congratulations to the class of 2020.
To all you graduating kids of the class of 2020.
And I'm delighted to be speaking to all of you.
Class of 2020 India. Wow.
And I want to wish all the class of 2020 India.
Class of 2020 India, I raise a toast to you.
Sorry that the circumstances are so dire that you can't have a proper celebration and event. And I know that after 16 years of hard work, you all must be thinking, why now? Why us?
We don't have control over these situations, but you can choose how we react to them. No matter how you're feeling right now, you have to know that the future is bright because the future is you.
I feel bad that you will not have a graduation party this time, but then you have the rest of the life, and that you will ponder and reset the system.
You have a huge party awaiting you, and that party is called life.
You are going to pave the way for a future, for a tomorrow that is sustainable, inclusive. You, my friends, are an essential building block for the trends that are to come.
We've been thrown into a virtual digital world, and who better than all of you to figure out what technological solutions are possible.
Going forward into the future, you shall be the torchbearers of a new world.
So go out there, work really hard, fulfill your dreams.
You guys are going to make a change to the world for the better, that's for sure.
2020 is unlike anything we'd expected, and you are the first graduates to make way in this brand new world.
This COVID nightmare, it'll change you all in the way you look at the world, you know, and make you more deeply sensitive, appreciate what you all have.
You people are really experienced the most toughest things, and I am sure of that. You will all be prepared for your future.
Please keep hope. Hope is life. It will be a great nation for all of you. You will cherish.
You might have missed out on a graduation ceremony, but here you are with the whole country celebrating you.
Your batch is not going to be called the pandemic class. In fact, this is the batch that's going to change the world.
You are at a very, very special age. It's the only time in your life where you can believe that the world will change.
And like one eminent writer, Tom Friedman, said, that according to him, this is a war between Mother Nature and Father Greed. And it's up to you who will decide where that balance will be and what the new world will look like.
I'm not going to be a part of this pity party, and I'll tell you why. Because I see you as winners.
When this ends, we'll make you deeper and finer people to go out and embrace the world and put your stamp on whatever journey you choose.
You guys will understand compassion, unity, cooperation and peace more than anyone else.
The post-COVID world is also going to give you a series of new opportunities, of new thoughts, new ideas, and you're going to be in an amazing, amazing place.
You bring hope for the future, and that is a reason to celebrate.
Sometimes it is quite adventurous, romantic, tough, painful, but young blood can take everything very happily and fight it.
It's you guys who are going to make the biggest change from now on. So welcome to the best days, the best years of your life.
I think it's the best stage of life because when you're starting off, you have so many dreams, so many thoughts,
and an entire life ahead to go and fulfill that.
Your batch is going to be the first batch to come out in a much cleaner, much wiser, and a much greener world.
You lose something, you gain something. You lose something, there is something very positive after that. And we hope that that comes to you.
I'm looking at this as an adversity which is throwing up huge opportunities for innovation. Innovating new vaccines, innovating new therapies, innovating new tests.
There will be an amazing party that awaits you, a party where you will find your space, find your place in life, and celebrate the rest of your existence.
Under your leadership, I'm sure the world will be a better place for all of us. I'm sitting over here to give you all my love and all my respect because you guys deserve it. All this and more.
I want you to come out of this feeling stronger and more confident because you figured it all out.
Our children have the brightest brains in the world, so I'm sure all of you will land up on your feet and be able to conquer the world.
Give yourself a pat on the back. You guys have done amazingly well.
You all will put your stamp on the world and leave it a better place than we found it.
You will be the leader of compassion.
So hang in there and just enjoy your day and enjoy your year ahead.
I love you all and I wish you the very best.
I stand by you, I look up to you, and you will lead our way.
And I want to wish all the class of 2020 India a very bright future.
God bless, live life to the fullest, and go make it.
Wish you all the best to go out there and do what you want to do and fulfill your dreams.
And I hope and I pray that your Josh is always high.
Congratulations on your graduation. You guys are the future.
All right, love you guys. Bye-bye.
All the best.
All the best to the class 2020 India.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Now let's go back to our international new normal candid COVID classroom and join Chetan Sharma, founder of Edumate.tv, in conversation with industry, domain experts, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv. Well, the best way to overcome crisis, panic, and situations like these is to start with a smile. And I hope that the little anecdote of a short while back was able to get just that on all of your faces. Well, we first talked about challenges and solutions. Now, the second part of our program, and that's to look at the future, the opportunities. We've got 7 speakers that are going to go across to each and every one of you and give you 1 minute to identify 3 opportunities from these very, very unique, unprecedented and difficult times. And I'm going to go across first in reverse order because Amjad Saab had to wait a lot. So Amjad, it's over to you now for your set of 3 opportunities. Your 1 minute starts now, sir.
First one is concerning the Minister of Higher Education. Iraq one. We asked her to review its education policy, okay, to contain the distant learning in our education policy. Why? Because it is just like, as I told you, it's just like a shock for us. We didn't to be used to go from the class learning up to the distant learning. So we asked our Minister of Higher Education to contain this distant learning as in its policy. The second one is the opportunity that we gained, that we developed our skills in e-learning and distant learning by going on into the workshops and training courses. So many of the Iraqi scholars now, they get better in using this facility and in distant learning. The third one is by this we widen our relationship, the academic one. For example, by this symposium, I now met new academic scholars from different worlds, and at the same time, I take the advantage and benefits from their solutions to their challenges in their countries.
So actually, there are some opportunities for many countries,
they will be able to step up the technical capabilities of their students, and I can say that radio and television stations will realize their vital role in promoting national educational goals and hopefully enhance the quality of their content, recognizing their tremendous social obligation. Also, parents will be more interested in the education phase of their children, and education ministries will have a much better understanding of limitations and challenges. I mean, in communication, infrastructure, incorporation of digital technologies into the curriculum, training of teachers that arise while using technology effectively and acting on it. All this will improve the country's future educational system. We know that more engaging learning styles are ones that are more interactive, and face-to-face learning is better than 100% online learning. But we know also the blended learning can draw on the best of both worlds and create a better learning experience than 100% face-to-face learning. Thus, blended learning approaches will be tried, tested, and increasingly used. Also, this is an opportunity for government to think seriously on how to implement and incorporate technology into the teaching and learning process. I mean, for instance, we should have what is called digitizing textbooks, not printed textbooks.
Well, the first opportunity which COVID-19 will bring to us is boosting the level of learner autonomy, which means that students in class or beyond class at home, they would have more responsibility for their own learning procedure. It means like in class, probably this load of responsibility will be given mostly to teachers or the educator, to school, coursework. But now students would feel more responsible for their own learning. So this sense of learner motivation, learner autonomy will be so positive, and it's created through this COVID-19 era. The second very important thing, as already one of our friends mentioned, was the role of parents in education. What I have in mind is that parents will have more highlighted role from now on, hopefully, in their children's learning process. And this is super positive, because in the past it wasn't really like this, and we could see that the whole load of education and this productivity of learning would be on the school and teachers and coursework and all the others' shoulders rather than parents. Now parents take more responsibility, would have more highlighted role here, show their own authority here. So that would be very positive in this case, I suppose. And the third and the very important one is the fact that all institutions all around the world are now focusing on common goal, and they're seeking for a remedy together. You know that the pandemic does not really discriminate demographically or geographically.
The first opportunity, I think the governments will surely improve the legislation or focus on more strategies to enhance the quality of education in Pakistan and all over the world. And the second opportunity I see is that the academic universities, colleges, institutions, and governments should will improve the relationship between them in order to enhance the quality of education, which has been struggling a lot due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the third one, I see that the blending education, which I earlier told about that, the blending education, I see that it would happen in Pakistan and all over the world, because face-to-face education is not going to happen in near future. So we will have to focus on blending education, and I think this would be a good opportunity.
So actually here in Bangladesh, and I think in many other similar identical settings context, we started facing the COVID-19 pandemic unprepared. So now we should have lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic to successfully encounter problems to come in the time to come. Number two, we have here in Bangladesh, we have seen our health sector suffers from a lot of problems, limitations. So we should detect and identify the limitations or constraints our health sector has, and then we should try to compensate for the limitations, reduce and minimize the limitations so that in time of such epidemics or pandemics or plagues, we can work maintaining health rules and taking necessary health precautions. And number three, as a friend of mine already mentioned, blended education. Yeah, yes, I also go for the blended learning. There's called blended learning. It's a technical term. And here I want to add another one point. There's called the flipped classroom. So we have to train our teachers in conducting blended learning as well as a flipped classroom, and we have to motivate and prepare our students so that they can easily get used to this new mode of learning. The blended learning actually blends two modes, on-site and online modes. So if we can get used to the blended learning in times of pandemic or other crises, we can easily shift from one mode to the other. We will not face we will not be at a fix. And yeah, finally, I'm sure we are not getting back to yesterday.
Writing in this pandemic situation has given three opportunities for us. First one can be the opportunity to give us insufficient time to write articles and write books and to release in the future. The second one, another part of the first question can be this pandemic situation has given sufficient time with us to stay with children, family and parents. The second opportunity has given opportunity for us to improve our technology skills and to have more accessibility with the technology accessories. The third opportunity has given, the lockdown has given an opportunity for us to the nature. The nature become more pollution by lockdown entire the cities. If we look to the nature has been changed like a natural situation of the time. And also we can say a part of the nature, this is the pandemic situation has given time for us to change every challenge to the opportunity and create opportunity for our life. And we should learn as a teacher and our future crisis, how to approach and how to fight for the next crisis in the future.
I love to thank all the people involved in preparing, arranging, and launching this program. It's really a great program. I much thank everybody of Edumate TV. This program would inform us a lot of things related to education, and I hope this Edu TV will continue launching such educative programs. Thank you all very much.
It is and it was really great pleasure to me to be here. To be honest, during this time of the COVID-19 crisis, like everyone here, I suppose, I've been so busy and engaged in the preparations, arrangements of courses, talking to this and that, trainings and stuff. So really no time to think about what is happening to us, what are the challenges we are facing, and what are the opportunities, the solutions. And this program gave me really the opportunity to think it over, to start writing down whatever in my mind about the challenges, about the solutions, about the opportunities this might have for me and my organization here in Turkey. And I would like to thank you again once more, and wish you the best of luck for the next upcoming programs.
I thank all the participants for having your presence on this beautiful seminar. And I really would like you to conduct more sessions on COVID-19 and on other educational matters as well.
Just I want to thank you as all staff, and special thanks to Najma because he gave me this opportunity to be with you. The good thing is that I gained from this symposium is that, as usual, the Indian people always inspire the others. Why? Because I already completed my MA in India, in Hyderabad, specifically in the University, IFRI University. So it is not strange for the Indian people to inspire the others. I always talk to my colleagues about the successful stories in India. So it is one of the successful stories from India. Thank you so much.
I think this is, first of all, I would like to make a thanks for all the organizers and the technical teams who designed this symposium very beautifully, and also they invited different resource persons from different countries. I think this type of platform will make giant experience of each other to fight about any type of crisis in the future. I'm sure this type of platform will help for each us and will enrich our knowledge and to share our experience to work together in the future for any type of crisis. And also this was very beautiful platform, and also we learned a lot of things to each other. And thank you very much from Najma madam, and also the chief person of this program, which he has organized this program very nicely. Thank you very much.
I was very glad to receive the invitation to attend and participate in this historic webinar. Actually, the discussions were very important and open. I have learned a lot and got a good sense of different or latest experiences. Actually, this crisis, I could say, it's not a curse. It is an asset also. And it will help us come together across, let's say, boundaries. I think it's an opportunity for the education sector to unite, forge connections across countries and continents.
So thank you for all that you've been, just exactly the way you presented yourselves. I often say, sir, that the only way to fight the big C of COVID is by 3 C's, by being corrective, collective, and creative. And I must remark that each and every one of you luminaries in the field of education have been exactly that, making this a very, very enriching exchange. So thank you for that. At the end of it all, there's only one thing that I have to say, and that is, to educate better, you'd better edumate.
Find something you love to do. Do it every day. Be obsessed. Balance can come later. Use your imagination. Put pen to paper. Declare your intentions. Set small goals. Knock them off, set more goals.
You have a lot of potential as a child, but none of that is capable of manifesting itself as freedom before you become disciplined.
Build confidence. Grow a deep belief. Outwork people. Play the long game. You don't have to be the chosen one. The secret is to build the resolve and spirit to enjoy the plateaus. The times when it doesn't feel like you're improving and you question why you're doing this. If you're patient, the plateaus will become springboards. Finally, never stop striving, reaching for your goals until you get there. But the truth is, even when you get there, even when you get here, standing on this stage, it's the striving, fighting, pushing yourself to the limit every day that you'll miss and you'll long for.
If you want to be a grocer or a general or a politician or a judge, you will invariably become it. That is your punishment. If you never know what you want to be, if you live what some might call the dynamic life, but I will call the artistic life, if each day you are unsure of who you are and what you know, you will never become anything, and that is your reward.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you.
How many of us, I wonder, can recall that childhood moment when we experienced happiness as a state of being, that single moment of untarnished joy, that moment when everything in our world, inside and out, was all right. Everything was all right.
साहब, आप भारत के प्रधानमंत्री बनना चाहते हैं?
मैंने कभी बनने का सपना पहले भी नहीं देखा था, आज भी नहीं देख रहा हूँ, आगे भी नहीं देखूंगा।
You have a knack for really asking great questions, I must say.
What is it that's going to take you to make a substantial investment into India? When you got to know that you're going to be the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, was there a smile on your face or a frown?
हमारा संविधान ये कहता है कि हर एक भारतीय को 16 साल तक मुफ्त नहीं शिक्षा अनिवार्य होनी चाहिए। कहाँ तक पहुँचे हम?
Budget can create jobs. So is the beautiful now becoming the bold and the beautiful? क्या कहें आपको? सुंदर, सफल, suave. क्या बोले आप? Starting out as a cricketer, he used to let his bat speak. Then moving out of cricket, he used to let himself speak. Always straight talk from Navjot Singh. Why would Navjot Singh be a politician? People who never talk straight. बात करते हैं परीक्षा की।
मस्ती के साथ वो छात्र पढ़े, लेकिन उसका वर्ष हम खराब नहीं होने देंगे।
जाके कॉलेज में एडमिशन की जरूरत पड़ेगी। एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती जिसका स्टूडेंट्स दे
like drawing or other things. If they get the funds, they are not able to spend them in time.
But actually, what does a child need?
Chetan ji, I think what you have just pointed out is one of the very evident points.
इसमें तो बड़ा परिवर्तन आया, उसमें मैं आपको भी एक बहुत बड़ा मत देता हूँ। Thank you, Chetan Sharma and Edumate TV.
Try and make a better education system for our future. That's why I always say, if you educate better, then you edumate better.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Coming ahead is our very special show, The Vice Chancellor, with Dr. Pankaj Gupta, President IIHMR University, in an exclusive conversation of insights and inspiration with Chetan Sharma, founder Edumate.tv. Over to Chetan.
Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic. With history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, rethink, reboot, reformat, re-strategize, before we rebuild a new normal, a new future. In the world of education, particularly higher education, if there's one trait that's required to overcome the challenges, to find solutions, and to create opportunities, it's got to be the trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from past experiences, past knowledge, and wisdom infusing the capacity to expect, embrace, and evolve the new normal. And that's why we have our very wise chancellor. But today joining us is a very special guest from Jaipur, from the Indian Institute of Health Management and Research. We've got Dr. Pankaj Gupta. Thank you for joining us. These, of course, been challenging times, Dr. Gupta, to say the least. And they're all to do with the parameter of health. So you're a very relevant organization because you're not just about health management, more importantly, you're about health research. And right now, if the world is failing on one account, it's failing on the account of research of virus. What's your take?
See, my university is the leading university in the area of health management research. And we are known for creating cutting-edge research and also impacting the public policy and the whole domain, including the practice and so on. In fact, during this time also, we have been advising the government of Pakistan as to how to handle the test, how to, when we are creating the guidelines like lockdown and unlock guidelines, and many things, the sero testing, how to measure the herd immunity and so on. We are not only just for the rigor, but also for the relevance. And during this time, we have done a lot of publications as well, because faculty members, they were not required to go to the university, but they've been publishing their research, and we have got so many top-tier publications during this time. And so in this way, though it is a challenge and great problem which all of us are facing, but we have been preparing ourselves quite well, and including, like, we have started the online classes, we have been also preparing our whole campus for the social distancing, and we are helping all our stakeholders and the government as to how to handle this pandemic.
So one thing, Dr. Gupta, which has been the big challenge, particularly in media, and that's the level of misinformation, the level of information without credibility, information which is somewhat biased or agenda-driven, and information which is just unverified. So in a situation like that, what has been the research findings? Give us some facts which we should really know on coronavirus, which you at the Institute have unveiled.
Coronavirus, there have been different kind of issues, including, whether it is spreading through the air or what are the different ways in which this whole disease can spread, and many such issues were there. So we give them advice based on different clusters. We also provide them research, when the red zone is there, orange zone is there, what kind of precautions to be taken. And also when the whole different clusters were being assessed, getting the sample, finding out how much is the level of penetration there. So all that research has been done by our faculty. And also a lot of sociological aspects also, including the mental health, the kind of issues people are facing by work from home. And also one faculty has done research on the entire genome of the virus. And one faculty has also done research on what is the level of malnutrition among children and what is the mortality rate going up and what is going to be the future impact on the healthy children, especially the state of Pakistan. So different kind of research are there, and also many of the research are also in the pipeline. And we also keep getting funding from our partners like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Johns Hopkins University, WHO, World Bank, HCL Foundation, to name a few.
Is there any meaningful conclusion that you've come up with? Because we've been hearing so many loose informations about vaccines, about herd immunity. It's the term that's being used, which I don't think most people really understand what it means and how effective it can be, about immunity building, and it's lesser effective on the rural population, which have a stronger immunity. So what are the facts really?
the research on these topics which you have mentioned, they are still in the process. Still, there are not very clear conclusions coming out of those research. So it would be little, premature to say and, share about the progress on the vaccine or about the herd immunity and so on. So what worked and what did not work and what are the lessons to be learned. That also, we have been documenting it. Because we are not only publishing papers, but also we are documenting different kind of case studies, and which are in great demand in many of our partner institutions from all over the world.
Sure, but there have been some other divides, across the world, and that's been particularly on the opinion of a lockdown, whether one should be having it or not. What have been your findings? Because you mentioned that you have done a lot of research on the impacts of lockdown.
There can be different situation on the lockdown, but I believe that lockdown should have been extended a little more, because the people who came in the unlock, many of them have just thought as they got little freedom and they can enjoy and they can maybe moving away without mask or socializing and so on. So that has been proved to be like counterproductive. So especially in the state of Rajasthan, situation is quite good. And if you compare with the other averages from other states in India, the state has been doing quite well. If you look at the recovery rate and also look at the mortality rate, we are doing quite well. And also, we have been also working with the state of Rajasthan to create different kind of campaign, because we have also analyzed that when the people are coming to the hospital, at what stage they come. Sometimes, they do delay at home when there was some initial symptoms, and once you delay, when you bring in somebody who is like almost dead, so then nobody can do anything. So we have also been helping the government with creating social media campaigns that जिन्होंने आपका ध्यान रखा, अब आपकी बारी, really targeting towards the elder population, and also how to popularize even the state helpline number and also the national helpline number, because it is all about the behavior change communication, and also creating in different dialects, like in certain population where you also have to speak in Marwari accent, somewhere you have to speak in rural way, and the kind of role model which they appreciate rather than one size fits all. So all these kind of inputs have been provided by us.
You mentioned the importance of communication. I'm going to come back to the importance of communication, or the absence of miscommunication, which I think is very important also, particularly in a pandemic when fear mongering is at large and a lot of myths are being dished out with absolute authority. So could you at least talk us through some of the myths that you think are definitely unproven and wrong and should not be adhered to at all?
There was a time when people were getting very, very scared. Like I remember in one of the locality, one person got corona positive. So a lot of people started leaving the whole locality. Okay, now it is in the air, and we all will get affected by that. And a lot of social stigma around that. So we did, our students also are very active. So they did some sort of a campaign that if somebody has got a corona positive, it does not mean that that person or the entire family become totally untouchable. So wherever we find such situation are there, we help people. But I think the government in total, both the central level and also the state level, they've been doing quite well to dispel all these myths. And also, 2 gaj ki duri jaruri, mask and hand sanitization. It is now on the government has done pretty well. Now these are totally on the tongue of everyone. But it also happens sometimes that people just take it so lightly. And secondly, the people are also very much used to that it has been just going on. Uske bina bhi kaam ho jayega.
So let's come back to the fact that you're a university. Of course, you're dispensing education, and that's had its own unique set of challenges in COVID. What's been your experience with the new normal of online education, on training the teachers, on perhaps changing curriculum, or trying to infuse blended education? What have been your learning?
Experience has been really great because we have been holding now the morning meetings. We do it at around 10 o'clock every day. where we also have reserved certain days, like one day to be on research, one day to be on the online classes, one day to be a faculty development program, and so on. So I saw there much better kind of bonding is there. And people can also attend these meetings from the comfort of their homes. And as I told you that never before in the history of IHMR we have got so many top refereed publications coming in these 4 months. So this year already we got very good ranking in NIRF, EW ranking, and also in the week ranking, which we are consistently going for the last 3 years. Some faculty members who are very much used to teaching like walk and chalk, they initially had some problem, but we sort of had a dialogue with them and discussed with them that how it is important now to go for the new normal, and so they very much cooperated. I've got a very wonderful team. I'm very proud of them. So everybody cooperated, my deans, my provost, everybody, we created a small clusters. So we created like a mentoring model, like one professor, then you have some associate professor and some assistant professor. And we create a team. And with that team, we said, okay, you have to develop modules on the health system, somebody on the epidemiology, somebody on the communicable and non-communicable diseases, somebody on the behavior change communication. So in this way, we created that clustered approach, and that gave us very good dividend. Then we have also been working on faculty development. Academic leadership series has been going on, because now we have the liberty. I can call from somebody from MIT or Harvard, or even from our partner university, Johns Hopkins. We have also done more than 60 webinars during this period, and different kind of themes, including the health system to the vocal for local and mindfulness, inner peace during the pandemic, and also how to manage the economy, and where the Secretary of Finance is speaking. So it was all about engagement model, and faculty and all my colleagues have cooperated very well, and publications, and also preparing for the future, because now we know that going online is now the writing on the wall. It is no longer whether I want to do it or I don't want to do it. So these are some of the thoughts.
Talk us through a bit of the past of Professor Pankaj, and what does the future hold for him, as well as for the Institute IIHR?
I've been throughout an academic leader, and I'm from Lucknow, and I had a small stint in the government also, but mainly in the academy. And with IMT Ghaziabad, I am principal. Then I was the founding director of Symbiosis. And then I was selected as one of the top academic leaders by Korn Ferry, which was a global search firm. And then certain CEO level positions, then Vice Chancellor. Then in some time, in silence for some time, then again came back and joined OP Jindal as an executive director. And then here. So I've been saying one thing, what is more, कि जो प्राप्त है वो पर्याप्त है. What is in front of me, is it all that matters? So I do not think what was my past or what is going to be my future. I believe that if I'm totally dedicated and passionate about my now, and then creating something great future on a blank canvas. I always say that it is not the SWOT, like you say, the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. I say from SWOT to so what. So means S for strength and O for opportunities. And do not think about weakness or threat. My university is already a great university in the area of healthcare. And we are already known for our great research, and which we will continue to do. And we are also planning to start new schools, like a school of public health, a school of mental health and well-being. And we already have many very important collaborations, which also we plan to do. And also in terms of the ranking, in terms of the size, but we do not want to be a very big, so many students, but we are more for the meaning than money, and more of a class than mass. So that is our thinking about it. And I believe that with this current pandemic, I also feel very proud of all our alumnus who are all over the world, and they are now heading hospitals, healthcare organizations, and everywhere.
Oh, wonderful. I know you've been a brilliant teacher, but I also know you've been a brilliant learner. So tell us, as we conclude, what are the 3 big lessons that you got from COVID-19?
One is that, being in now, and do not worry so much about what will happen to me in the future. And living very, very mindfully in this very moment. And number 2 is also very much related to the point 1. It is, like, this too shall pass. And number 3, take care of others. Because, you are only as good as your team is. So if you take care of your team, if you take care of your students and all the stakeholders, the innovations, growth, everything will come from there. Also, the name which you have given is a Vice Chancellor. So again, it is very, very innovative idea. And the way you just ask very at random questions, and it is very, very good. Because when you give anybody a sort of set questions, and then you prepare and then give answer, it is killing all the creativity. So I truly appreciate this very good and candid conversation.
Let me sum up your learnings in 3 P's. P number 1 is present. Live in the present. Think about the now. P number 2 is positivity. Take things in a positive stride. And I think point number 3, the third P, is partnership. Look at everybody as a partner and look at it in the sense of a team. You truly have been Dr. Pankaj Gupta, our Vice Chancellor, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for watching this live broadcast on Edumate.tv. Stay logged on to www.edumate.tv for all the latest news and analysis from the world of higher education. And do remember, to educate better, you better edumate.